Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to An Orange Life. Thanks for tuning in. This is Deanna. Thank you to new subscribers. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and just thank you for just being here. I just appreciate you guys just coming back and just listening to the videos. And I like to get your feedback on things. If I miss your comments and I don't get to them right away, uh, please don't be discouraged. I will get to them. It's just lately I've been very busy. It's a recession out here. Things has just been nuts lately, guys, and I don't think it's going to get any better. As far as what's going on right now, it's probably get better later, but right now we at the beginning of something crazy. So let's just jump right into this video. You guys tuned in so we can talk about toxic mothers, and we're going to address the men on this video. I'm going to come back with part two for the women, but today, I'm going to talk about the men. So first, I'm going to talk about what are the traits or characteristics or what goes into making a toxic mother. Well, they're going to start off as a toxic woman, then it turns into a toxic mother. So let us start by toxic mothers. They're created, first of all, by their mother. Usually, women who are toxic and wind up becoming toxic mothers, usually they have mothers that were toxic. And in many cases, but not all, the father was not present or the relationship with the father was not good. It could have been an abusive relationship, whether it's physical, emotional, and sometimes sexual. I mean, hey, it is what it is. It's the truth. And because I get a lot of that in practice, I get it a lot. I get it a lot. So, yeah, yeah, it happens. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So these are some of the characteristics that go into it. Also, sometimes women are not toxic mothers in the beginning. They become toxic because what happens is they get with a man and they, believe this man is the one. They love the man. They wind up getting pregnant and having the child, and the man winds up leaving for whatever reason. And she no longer wants to be bothered with the child now that the man is gone, because that's something she just, she only wanted the child as long as he was there, if he was going to help raise the child. If he's not going to be there, then she's not happy about it. And then she's stuck with the child. In many cases, in her mind, I'm not going to say she's stuck. In her mind, she's stuck with the child. And when that occurs, she does not treat the child well. There's a lot of neglect, abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, financial neglect, social neglect, the whole gamut. And these things happen. Now, as we heard Denzel Washington say, which is very much true, the woman is the mother, excuse me, is the first woman in a man's life, in a young boy's life. And if you don't have a good, healthy relationship with your mother, you're not going to have a good, healthy relationship with women. It's just not going to happen. If you have a son who is uh, has a tumultuous relationship with his mother, he doesn't make for a good husband. He has to fix the issues he has with his mother in order for him to be a husband and a father. And it is what it is. People don't want to hear it, but it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So let's dive a little deeper about this. All right, I'm going to use an example. There's a local uh, Instagrammer in my town, and he's one of the high profile ones here in the town. And I've been listening to him for a few years, and he is definitely the poster child of having a toxic mother. Let me go into it because I'm gonna use him as an example because it's a good example. He talked about frequently how when he was little, how he was, in poverty. He talked in depth about sometimes they didn't have a front door, utilities were sometimes off. Sometimes, he wore his brother's hand me downs. He would go to school and his shoes would fall apart and he would get teased. And his mother was not supportive at all. She was not, when I say supportive, she did not emotionally support him when he was being teased in school. She did not try to make things better. Well, she didn't try her best, I'll say, to make things better. I'm not going to say she didn't try. I'm going to say she didn't try her best. He also talked about how he would come home sometimes and there would be different men from the different utility companies in bed with his mother so that, the gas and the electric wouldn't be shut off. So, he has mentioned that. He's mentioned that his mother had told him before that she wished she never had him. He's also mentioned that his mother said that he was supposed to be adopted. And just some, it was so many things that he had mentioned about what his mother had said to him. Now, this young man, when he was saying these things, he started saying them around 22, 23 on Instagram. He's pushing 30 now. And watching him, because he tells everything on social media, he basically lives his life out on Instagram. And he's had a girlfriend recently in the past 4 years, very beautiful girl who came from a two-parent home. She seemed to come from a loving, caring home, very intelligent, articulate, owns her own business, family oriented. So she's a suburban girl and she's not, a hood chick. So he developed a relationship with her, and in the beginning the relationship was great. He was very much in love with her. He was very much into her, and I think he was more so fascinated with her than anything else. And because she's a very beautiful girl, intelligent, because she did come into his life and make it better. She did. It all played out on social media. And what happened was she came in his life and he elevated his life because she was in it. She came along and her act was totally together at a young age. She was, I think, 20 years old. And I think he was 23 at the time. And she's coming in as a business owner, her own place, very attractive girl, intelligent, in college for nursing, stuff like that. So this girl was really on point. Now, in the beginning of the relationship, everything was great. Everything was fine. Then the cracks started. It started with when his birthday came around. His birthday came around, and he did mention when he was younger that nobody ever recognized his birthday. Now, he did grow up as Muslim. However, his birthday was still never recognized at all growing up. His mother, it wasn't that he expected a party or anything. It was just that he expected some sort of recognition, and he never got it. So when she planned his birthday, it was a big deal to him. Like he was very excited. He was looking forward to it because he's never had anybody plan anything for his birthday. Well, unfortunately, she misread the uh, where the resort was, the location. And the location was actually 3 hours away instead of an hour away. She thought it was an hour. She booked the wrong location. So he went off, and this played out online because what happened was they went to go and then they came back, and he went live saying that they're back because she she had the wrong address. It was 3 hours away. So he started calling her a bunch of stupid bitches right on live with almost 1,000 people in the live. So she goes upstairs in the bathroom. So he's just going on and on. I mean, on a total rant, mad because she didn't do this. It's my birthday. You should have did this. You should have did that. He was going on. So she didn't say anything. She went upstairs in the bathroom and shut the door because you could hear that she went upstairs. And how we know it was the bathroom is because he went upstairs with the phone and was banging on the door for her to open the door because she wouldn't talk to him. So he kept telling her to open the bathroom. Then he said, I got to go to the bathroom, open the door. That's how I know she was in the bathroom. So he wound up dropping the phone because he actually kicked the door down and then he cut the live off. So we don't know what happened at that point. They were still together after that because ultimately they had a baby. But the point is that his reaction was very extreme for something that was an accident because I've done that before too. She was 20 years old at the time. I did that when I was in my 20s. I booked a hotel and thought it was in Atlantic City and it was in Vegas. I had to call and cancel it. My uncle had booked it for me because at that particular time I didn't have a credit card. So my uncle booked it for me. I had the money, but not the card. But when I went to go recheck it or whatever I was about to do, I found that it was in Vegas. I called my uncle and told him, he had to cancel it. And then we finally booked the right hotel. But that was something that was rectifiable. They could have rectified that whole situation. But again, He went off and acted like a nut. So that was one incident. Another thing about him that I noticed, and I can tell that he didn't have a good relationship with his mother, is that in all his lives, he keeps saying, y'all bitches, man, y'all bitches, man. This is all he keeps saying. He always calling women bitches, whores, or super whores. When he does his lives, he rarely uses the word ladies, women. The only time he used those words is when women in the chat will say it. They'll be like, why you always call us bitches? We're not bitches. That's the only time he would change the wording during that live. But the very next live, he calls all women bitches, whores, and ultra whores. That's what he calls them. So that's another thing. Then another thing that I've noticed with him also is that his girlfriend was 9 months pregnant and she was in labor one night. And he told her that she went to him and said that she thinks she's in labor. And he said, no, you're not. And she said, I think I am. And he said, no, you're not. I'm going to sleep. You be all right. Just, you probably got Braxton Hicks. Now, he said this to her because he does have a daughter. He has a daughter prior to her by another woman. So he said this thinking he know what he talking about. Well, she damn near had the baby at home because he went to sleep and wouldn't get up because he kept telling her it wasn't time. So she sat downstairs and was in contraction all night long in pain. When he finally, when he got up in the morning, she told him that she had to go to the hospital. She had the baby when she got there because she was in labor all night long. And he wouldn't listen to her. She kept saying, I need to go. I need to go. I think it's time. He told her, no, I'm going back to sleep. It's not. It's Braxton Hicks. That's what he kept telling her. But as soon as we found out, as soon as she got to the hospital, she had the baby. And again, it's because he doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect women's opinion or women. Now, another thing that I've noticed with him is that when he does his lives, whenever he's single, because he goes through these things where him and his girlfriend will break up, be together, whatever, because of his behavior, of course. But when he's not with his girlfriend, which they, by the way, they are officially broken up now and not getting back together. But he calls some women can kickers, and he either calls them can kickers or ultra whores. That's what he calls them. And he says that he understands how it goes with women. That with women, it's an exchange that I know when I deal with them, I got to get them something. I don't mind giving a woman 1,500 or 2,000 as long as she know what to do when it's time to get in the bed. And I'm saying it in a more politically correct way than what he says, because trust me, he says it in a more derogatory way. So he has always said for years that dealing with women for him is transactional, and he got that from his mother. He was a little boy because he said it. He said he was a little boy coming home from school. His mom would be in the bed with one of the utility men. So what he's learned from that is that men have to pay, in order for us to keep our lights and our gas on. She slept with the gas and electric man. Our lights and our gas stayed on. And then she said something about he said something about also that an electrician came over and there was some work that had to be done and she didn't have the money. She slept with him too. So that's where he learned about the transactional. His father has been in prison most of his life. His father just got out of prison, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago or something like that. It was something recent. But, he doesn't have, he sees his father, but he doesn't have this, relationship with his father. The only close relationship he has is with his sister. He does have another brother, but for some reason they're not close because he doesn't talk about his brother at all. He's very close with his sister because he takes his niece all the time with his daughter because he has a daughter and a son by two different women. So he he definitely, the way that he was brought up, you can tell that he doesn't like women. He doesn't like them. He's not gay or anything, but he doesn't like women, and you can tell. You can tell by the way he talks about women. You can tell by the way he treats women because the woman that he was with, she brought so much value to his life. I mean, her presence made him level up. It's not that she paid anything for him or nothing like that, But her being around, he got a better job, he got more money, he got a better car, he started his own businesses, he started making more money. See, being with her made him want to level up himself financially. But the only problem with that is that mentally, he doesn't know how to deal with women because he definitely does not respect women. He doesn't respect them. He he was at an event one time with somebody that I know personally, and they were at the event where it was a well known writer here, and he was holding uh like some sort of writing camp of some sort of writing thing. He was trying to put together some sort of TV pilot, and he invited certain people to help him write it so that he can pitch it to Hollywood. And he was a part of the audience. Well, anyway, after the event was over or whatever, the men in the room had agreed that they were going to walk, any women there that weren't there with a man, walk them to their cars because it got late. He was the only one that didn't want to. He walked out and just left. All the other men agreed, let's make sure all the women get to their cars, because the area that they had the meeting in wasn't the best area. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. And he didn't want to do that. He walked right out and just kept it going. And everybody noticed that. So they didn't say anything. They was just like, okay, whatever. But again, he doesn't like women because men who don't have a good relationship with their mothers, they don't like women. They don't like them. That doesn't mean that they're gay. They just don't like them. And he's one of those men that don't like women. And it is very clear it stems from his mother, because he talked about everything that happened with him growing up. Now, his case is bad, but it's not as severe as I've seen. I've seen much worse. I've seen men that have been abandoned by their mothers, and those men are really the ones who's been abandoned by their mothers. They're the worst. They're the worst. Unless they get some sort of therapy, they're the worst, because they definitely have no respect, or no real respect. They pretend, or any real love for women. They don't like women. So, toxic, mothers, this is toxic mothers create some of these men that's out here acting crazy. Some of these women allow their men to, their young boys to be abused by the men in their life. Some of these women allow these men to even touch their young sons. All these things have happened. And what happens is these boys grow up and they become men. And one thing about men is they don't talk about their trauma, they hold it all in. And then they grow up and they act it out. That's what they do, because in the Black community, they're not big on therapy. So if you're not big on therapy in the Black community, and you have traumatic events happening to a child, especially a young male, and you got to keep in mind my psychology of men. Men by nature are deviant, aggressive, and selfish. And depending how they're raised, if they're not raised right, all this is going to come out when they get older. So when you have a toxic mother, these men grow up and they are definitely terrorists in our community. These are the men, if you look at these men that are running around unaliving women, essaying women, abusive men, look at the mother. Look at the mother and see what type of mother she was to him. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, she wasn't a good mother. Now, I'm not saying everything is the mother's fault, because it's not. The fathers play a role in this too. But in many cases with toxic mothers, the father isn't around. And that creates even a bigger problem, because now you have one parent that is toxic, that is letting her child be abused, neglected, and things like that. And then secondly, you have no male or male role model that teaches them how to be men. So when you add these two things together, you have men that cannot emotionally control themselves, men that don't know how to regulate themselves, and they'll be overly emotional, and they will be impulsive. These are all the things they pick. Men like this pick up some feminine qualities because there's not a man around to teach them discipline. Because women are more impulsive, women are more emotional. So when you have a boy raised by a toxic mother, and you all this boy sees is his mother acting irrational, doing crazy stuff, being promiscuous, all these things, all this boy do is going to grow with anger and resentment. That anger and resentment that he's going to take out there in the world and terrorize women. So that's usually how it goes. Toxic mothers is a huge problem in our community, and is really not too much we can do about it. It's really not. What are we going to do? Because it takes two. We can't, for some of these women, they became toxic because of their families before them, their parents. So if this is something that's ingrained in them, they grew up with all these traumas and problems, and then they have children, the cycle just continues. It doesn't end. It just goes on until somebody gets some therapy and get it together. But for the most part, it's difficult for men, especially the older they get. And when I say the older they get, if you catch this behavior when they're like in their late teens, early 20s, you might have some hope of them becoming better men later on as they mature. But if you catching this man at 35, like 30, 35, 40, you can forget it. I'm not saying they can't change, and I'm not saying with therapy they can't, but it takes a long time for men to change, number one. And number two, men don't like to go to therapy. They don't. Women go to therapy more than what men do. They don't want to go. And in the black community, you can forget it. So these toxic mothers out here, yeah, 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 it's going to create some big problems. So, and a lot of this baby mama culture they got going on here, and especially with these influencers and all this stuff y'all got going on online with these kids are going to grow up and see everything you did online, and how do you think they're going to act? Because being a toxic mother doesn't always mean that you're like physically harming a child, or it's so many ways that you could be a toxic mother. Because I see Amber Rose as being a toxic mother. She may not be physically harming her child, but you you have a history of having something called a slut walk. You have been called derogatory names all over the internet that is still there. You were a stripper. And from what I've heard, he currently has been getting teased at school because of his mother. So, you know, to me, that's a toxic mother. When you become a mother, some of these antics that you do, you shouldn't be doing when you have children. You shouldn't be online twerking in front of your children, your young children. That's not an image that children are supposed to be looking at. You're not supposed to be out in public with your hair sticking straight up, pajama bottoms on, a crop top, and some slippers. You look like a nut. That's embarrassing to your children. This is what you're showing your children. You're not supposed to be out here fighting in the streets. Your children are not supposed to walk in seeing a different man in your bed every other day. That's not supposed to be going on. You're supposed to be checking your children's homework. You're supposed to be making sure your kids are in school on time with clean clothes, hair combed, looking presentable, with lunch. With lunch. Give them breakfast in the morning, because it's insane. I'm a school nurse now, even though I've been doing psych nurse and I still do psych nursing, but right now I'm doing school nursing with psych. I do school more than psych. But I'm at a high school. These kids come in hungry. These kids come in hungry. Some of these kids come in with dirty clothes. Some of the kids wear the same clothes. I'm always giving out food, bringing in my son's clothes he can't wear anymore for the boys, bringing stuff in for the girls. I'm always doing this stuff. I'm always feeding them. I'm always bringing in fruit, pretzels, candy, all kinds of stuff. And I said it in one of my videos before. I think in my psychology of uh, I forgot what it is. It's the one I did on school kids. The high school kids. These kids need, because this is what I'm saying. These children that come to school today, all they want is attention, a meal, and somebody to listen to them. And that's the truth, because that's all I get. Those kids come in that office every day and talk to me. They sit and talk to me. I know more about those kids than I probably know about my own kids. They come in and sit with me. They just want to eat. They want somebody to listen to them. They want somebody to act like that they care. That's all they want. You should see how the girls blush when I call them pretty. They're not even used to hearing that they're pretty. You should see how they look when I say, "Oh, look at my pretty girl." They love that. It's sad. It's sad to me that some of these girls don't hear that every day. That their own family or mother is not telling them how pretty they are, how smart they are. These are the things that they don't hear, and this is why it's girls in the bathroom doing BJ's in the bathroom with the boys, because they're not getting that attention at home. Because if you're pouring into your children are not going to come to school and be doing stuff like that in the bathroom. So that's what I'm saying. These toxic mothers are raising individuals that are coming out in this world and doing what they're doing. That's why you got all these young people out here looting. That's why you have young people out here unaliving people. There is no guidance at home. The toxic mothers act like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, because you don't pay attention at all. Just like here in my city, I think it was maybe a year ago, it was, I think about 4 or 5 kids. They were under the age of 13. All kids were under 13. They unalived a man with a street cone. It was an elderly man. They picked up this big street cone and was beating him in the head with it. All these kids were under 13. And this happened at 3 in the morning. Why were they out? The youngest one was 10. Why were they out? This is what I'm talking about. Toxic mothers. Where were they at? I've raised 2 kids, and not either one of my kids have ever been out of the house as a minor around 3 a.m. unless they was with me. So I'm trying to figure out how are they even out the house, and this is what I'm talking about. Now, one of the kids that all the kids were arrested, but only 2 were actually arrested and convicted, and that was the one who actually did it, and another child that participated. The other children were just there. One of the kids that they rallied to not have charges put on them at all was the child that tried to stop it, and the child that called 911 from their cell phone and actually stayed with the man until the ambulance came. That child was exonerated for everything because that child was not a willing participant. The child was there, but the child tried to do the right thing. And that child, I think, was like maybe 11. I think it was a girl. She was the one that you can see her on the tape. You actually saw the tape. And that's what you saw what happened, that she actually, while they were doing it, she was like pulling on one of the girls, the girl with the cone. She was pulling on her. And I guess she was trying to tell her to stop because you don't hear the audio. And then the other boy pushed her out the way, and then he took the cone and was hitting her. It was like this whole thing. But this is what I'm talking about with toxic mothers. How do you don't know your children? How do your kids feel comfortable going out at 3 in the morning? My kids would have never done that. Like they didn't. That's something that would never enter their mind because they know you ain't even going out the house after a certain hour. So why? What? It's not even a topic of conversation. Like it doesn't even make sense. So again, toxic mothers is unfortunately is something that's in our community. And a lot of times, the toxic mothers don't have anything to do with men sometimes these women are already toxic before they even get to a man because of what their family has already done to them. Now, you ask yourself, what can you do about it? Well, because I like to try to give solutions at the end of these psychology ofs. At least I try to. I don't do it with all of them, but at least I try to. What you can do in when you're not sure if someone is a toxic woman or not uh, is men, check the background, check the family background, the dynamic of the mother. If she has kids, how is she taking care of her kids? Look at her kids. Are they always clean? Are they always, well dressed? Are they fed? Do they look fed? Do they look clean? Does she have them all the time? Do she let you come to her house and in her bed while her kids are there? Because again, to me, that's a toxic trait right there. Because during the time when I was single, I never had a man in my bed unless I was married to him. I had two husbands. Never had a man. My kids never walked in the room and saw me in the bed with a man unless there was some wedding rings on the hands. Because kids are not supposed to see that. If it's not their father, I was married twice to my children's father and then my second husband. Me and my second husband didn't have children together. Me and my first husband had two children together. So I didn't have any children by my second husband. And my kids have never seen me with a man in my bed, even to this day. And my children are grown because I currently have a fiance, but we're not married yet. So because we're not married yet, he ain't in my bed every night. And my kids don't even live with me no more. But it's just the fact that that's the principles that I have. So, you really have to be careful with these toxic mothers out here because these mothers are turning out these men out here that we're seeing now. These men that we hearing about, these dusties and all this. Check the mama, and check the family. Because a lot of times these men don't even like women. Now it's not always the mother. Now don't get me wrong. There's some people out here that just bad seeds. There's some people out here that's just on demon time. They just demons. And sometimes it's not the mother. Sometimes you look at these people, they got a sweet mother that tried her best and that the father wasn't around and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So it's not always that. But what I will say is for you men out here that are out here dating women that want to start building a future with a woman, pay attention to the family background. Pay attention to the family because of the simple fact that if the family has some sort of history of toxicity, then you got yourself a problem. You got a big problem. And I wouldn't want to have, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to have a baby with a woman who has trauma and toxicity in her family because the odds are she's going to bring it over to you and your offspring. And then you're going to be dealing with that for the rest of your life. You're going to have a crazy baby mama because that's usually what happens. That's when they say, oh, I have a crazy baby mama. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's usually how it goes. So I'm going to close this one out. I'm going to come back with the psychology of toxic mothers and women next. And I didn't forget about the psychology of women 3 and 4. I'm going to put them up. I've been so busy lately with, work and other things that I'm doing. This recession is really crazy, and I'm trying to get some things done before things really hit the fan. And if anyone's interested in a therapeutic call, the link is down below. Um, Also, everyone, please be safe and careful out there. We're living in very uncertain times. It's a lot going on. I would like to set up a support group just for people if they just want to just have a place to talk and vent and just talk about what's going on because it's a lot going on. I think it's a good idea to support it, to have a support group, to start one for us because people who live in different states, because we can give a take on what's going on in each other's states. We have a lot of weather issues going on. We have it's just a lot of things going on, and I think it's a good idea to start a support group and we could do like do a Zoom or whatever, once or twice a week so that we could just try to support each other, try to see if we can help each other, see if we can find like-minded people in our own towns that are close to us, maybe having something that's like a buddy system or something in each other's state, maybe pick a buddy, somebody that you're close to. That way if it's an emergency or something happens, you can support each other because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't. We really, really don't. There's so much going on. The stock market crashed last week, again on Monday. It's just too much going on. So that's why I said they're talking about food shortages coming. That's why I said I think it's important that maybe we start a support group. I'm going to leave a link below. Anyone is interested in, being a part of a support group, I'm not going to charge for it. It's going to be free. I think it's important that because this is not about making money at this point. This is basically just trying to survive and just trying to keep each other up on what's going on, in different states and, stuff like that. We or here on YouTube, people are all over. So it would be good to know what's going on if we have somebody in the South, the Midwest, the East, the North, just, if we were able to just know what's going on, even if we have people in other countries, it would be good to know, because I would love to know what is really going on over there in Paris, because you hear this stuff online, but sometimes that information gets all, messed up. So I'm going to leave a link below. I'm going to do a support group. It's going to be free. I'm not charging for it, because this is a time when it's not about money. This is a time when it's about just basically being informed and trying to survive and just trying to help each other. This is a time where we have to come together now. This is not about money. As Americans, we're in for some stuff, and we need to start pulling together, because this separation we got going on, it's not going to help us in the end. It's not going to help us when stuff really hit. When stuff really hits, you need to be knowing certain things. You need to have, people that you can count on. You need to have some sort of village. We need to start figuring this stuff out. And you can't figure it out once stuff hit. Once the EMP hit and we don't have no damn internet or anything else, you can't do that at the last minute. We need to get this support group going, and we need to start putting plans in place so that when things happen, we all have a way of trying to connect to each other and trying to help each other. So I'm going to close this out. I'll be back with my other videos. I got some stuff coming down the pipe, guys, because I still have those live videos I did. I did 2 interviews. I did two live interviews with 2 women that I'm going to put up. I haven't done yet. I did the interviews a few months ago. I just haven't put them up yet. So I have to give you guys too. All right, guys, I'm going to close this out. Thanks for listening. I look forward to bringing you guys more videos, and comment below. And don't forget the links below, guys, if you want to book a call. And if not, don't worry about it. Join the free Zoom link. And I'll see how many people we get. And then I'll, come up when I do a video, I'll come up with a date, and we can start our first. I would like to start doing this by the end of August, because the closer we get to the election, which I don't think is going to happen, I think something's coming in October, guys. I do. So I want to try to get this Zoom thing done by the end of I want to start it by the end of August, so that we have all of September to try to really try to get to know people, try to figure these things out, because we need to come together for something. We need to be throwing ideas around. We need to be creating lists on things that we need. And we need to be, brainstorming, because I'm telling you guys, if we're not prepared for what's coming, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. You see the stock market crash, China's stock market crash. That's not good, guys. That's not good, because if you don't know, China is where we get all our medication from. As far as the materials to make the medication, they come from China. And if our bonds crashed last week, which they did, that means we can't pay our debts. So if we can't pay our debts, China has the right to say, well, listen, we ain't giving you nothing. And China don't like us right now anyway, because they got BRICS now. So that's why I said, guys, we need to start making a support group. We need to start figuring some things out, and we need to take it off of YouTube to do it, and start doing it on our own. We cannot depend on the government, guys. If you think the government's going to help you, think again. They're not. So we need to start figuring some things out on our own, guys. All right, guys, I will be back soon, and you guys take care, and I'll be back soon.